Hello and welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. I am joined by my guest, Stephen Mosher. You guys are going to enjoy this interview. I'm sure you've read his work before. You've seen him on my show before. You've seen him on and heard him on plenty of shows. He's the author of The Bully of Asia, The Devil and Communist China, and the president of the Population Research Institute. But he recently just penned a column. I saw it in the New York Post. I'm not sure if it was other places or not, but I'm sure it was. But regardless, the title is "Despite Their Denials, China is Losing the Tariffs War and Retreating as Fast as It Can." So, Stephen, welcome back to the program. I appreciate you coming on, especially considering the fact that you're under the weather. So I appreciate that.
Well, I'm always happy to do your show, Carl.
Thank you. Okay, so actually, before we even get to your column, let me ask you to opine on a couple of things that have come out in the media this week. A new war on drugs. You got this AG Pam Bundy that announced the largest fentanyl bust in our nation's history. There's no doubt that China is connected to this somehow. Give us your take on that.
Well, China's absolutely behind it. All of the precursors, that is, the drugs that they take to a lab in British Columbia and Canada or down in Mexico and through a simple chemical process make into full-blown fentanyl, all of that comes from China. We know it comes from China. The Chinese Communist Party knows it comes from manufacturers in their country. And the Chinese Communist Party knows exactly where it's made because they're subsidizing its production and its shipment to the United States. Let me repeat that. The Chinese Communist Party, the police force there, knows exactly where the fentanyl precursors are being made in China, what factories are producing them, and they're subsidizing those factories and the shipment to China. So this is quite deliberate. Now, China's been denying this for years. They've been saying, we don't know where the precursors are being made. We don't know who's shipping them. We're trying to cooperate with you, but it's really your problem, China says, because you're the guys who are buying it and consuming it and killing yourselves. Well, listen to this, Carl. Just 2 days ago, Beijing has said that they will stop the fentanyl trade if we lower the tariffs.
Oh, man. They'll stop killing Americans if we'll lower the tariffs.
That's
wow.
Right. Beijing offers to stop killing almost 100,000 Americans if Trump lowers the tariffs on them. This after years of falsely claiming that China has absolutely nothing to do with the deadly fentanyl trade, which in fact is an ongoing chemical weapons attack by the Chinese Communist Party on the United States, which has killed hundreds of thousands. They have now admitted that they can control the fentanyl trade, and they're trying to use it as leverage to get us to lower the tariffs. I pray that Trump keeps the tariffs on and raises them after this.
You know, you had Mr. Wonderful from the Shark Tank said the tariffs for China at least should be raised all the way to 400%. Do you agree with that?
Absolutely. I think China should be isolated. Its economy. Let's talk about its economy for a second.
Yes.
The economy is now in collapse, and it started before the high tariffs. Okay, because the property sector of the Chinese economy was already bankrupt. There are companies, the biggest property developers in China, Evergrande and some others, have already gone bankrupt. The average Chinese citizen in the cities and larger towns in China is $27,000 in debt. That's their net worth is negative. Why? Because they bought apartments for a high price 5 or 10 years ago, and those apartments are now worth less than they paid for them, even though they've been paying down on the mortgage. So the whole country's property sector is bankrupt. The graduating class of China this year from the university, millions of Chinese young people came out with degrees from the university. Half of them are unemployed. Half of them will not be able to find work because the economy is in such bad shape. This was all before the tariffs. Now add in the tariffs, right? You've got the United States basically saying to China, we buy one out of every $6 worth of goods that comes from China, we in the United States buy. That's 16% of what China exports. But that 16%, Carl, accounts for half of the profits of the export sector. Why? Because Americans are law-abiding. We buy in large quantities. We pay our bills. The rest of the stuff that China produces and ships elsewhere gets shipped in small quantities. Try getting paid from Indonesia or India or other countries. The money comes in slowly, if it comes in at all.
That's a great point.
The goose that lays the golden eggs. We provide half of the profits of the export sector of the Chinese economy, and that's now gone. There are factories being closed down every day.
It's almost like getting a welfare check from the U.S. government that they can no longer no longer count on. Again, I'm speaking to Stephen Mosher. He is the author of The Devil and Communist China, also the Bully of Asia, and president of the Population Research Institute. And again, I mean, this fentanyl issue. Honestly, just like you said, they've been using this as a way to kill Americans. This trade war was exactly what needed to happen against China. I have my opinions on some of the other ones. I'm hoping that there will be proportional taxes. Everybody will come to the table. If India, South Korea, and as you wrote about in your latest piece, South Korea and Japan, I believe it is, if they come to the table, that's huge news. Let me ask you this, Stephen, how does this trade war impact China's influence in all of these other nations where they've had this Belt and Roads initiative, in your opinion?
Well, here's the thing about the Belt and Road. China has spent $1 billion building ports and railroads and dams around the world. But it loaned the money to these third world countries for ports and dams and railroads that in many cases they didn't need. There was no market analysis done to see if there would be enough use of these projects to pay back the loans. And it turns out that in these third world countries, there isn't. All of these countries that now have these generous Belt and Road projects are finding that there's not enough business to pay back the loan that China gave them to build the project. So what are they all doing? They're going to China and they're saying, we need to renegotiate the loan. We need to defer the payments. We need a temporary pause in the payback scheme. Well, China can't afford to do that now because they're going, literally the country is going bankrupt. And now we have kicked the last leg of the stool out from under them with these tariffs. $400 billion of goods made in China. Only a fraction of that can now be sold in the United States. 80% of it has now been priced out of the market. And people who are worried about where the goods are going to come from, I would tell them that America, the free market, has a dynamic economy that responds to shortages very quickly. Entrepreneurs are already stepping in to provide replacement products for these things that are been priced out of the market from China. So I think any shortages are going to disappear very, very quickly, and China is going to be left with warehouses of goods they can't sell anywhere in the world.
Now, this is a very important point. And again, I encourage all of you in the listening audience to please go read. Actually, I'll post it. I'll make sure that I post it out on all of my social media. But Stephen Mosher's column, despite their denials, China is losing the tariffs war and retreating as fast as it can. And they're trying to save face. And Stephen, I got to give Trump credit because I believe he's almost helping them save face while on the down low, if you will, if I can get a little ghetto fabulous, Stephen, he's chopping Xi Jinping down at the knees. I mean, Xi Jinping, I'm not sure Xi Jinping was convinced that he would be able to wait out Trump. I'm not sure that that's the case. I'm not sure that Xi Jinping survives. Your take?
Yeah, I'm not sure he survives either. And there are rumors out of China. You know, the senior Chinese leadership, the retired guys who are former vice premiers and premiers and so forth, kind of constitute a shadow cabinet in China. They have a lot of power. They have a lot of influence. And they're all unhappy with Xi Jinping because of not just because of the trade war, but because of the bellicose language with regard to the United States. They wanted to bide our time and choose the time of confrontation wisely. Xi Jinping moved too quickly and let Trump know and let many Americans know that China was the number one threat. And the result now is China's going to suffer dearly. The Chinese people are going to be going hungry by the millions in the weeks and months to come. And I think the leadership is probably going to collectively say to Xi Jinping, it's time for you to step down. And then they're going to come hat in hand Trump and say,
Wow.
we're new guys, so let's talk.
Wow. Honestly, this is so fascinating. I mean, this was a nation, a communist nation, that thought they would be the world's leading hegemony, and at least it doesn't. I mean, it looks like they are buckling. We've only got about 30 seconds left in this block here. I'm speaking to Stephen Mosher. We're having Steve Besant is going and Greer are going to meet with Chinese counterparts on trade this weekend. Real quick, 20 seconds. How do you think that'll go?
Well, I think Besant and the trade representative will be very polite. The Chinese will be very polite, and nothing major is going to happen because we're going to have trade deals with Japan and South Korea and India in very short order, and other countries.
Okay,
and China's going to be left out in the cold.
Wow. Okay. More with Stephen Mosher on the other side. This is the Carl Jackson Show. Stay tuned. All right, guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. I appreciate you guys tuning in. Please follow me, all things social media. I'm on X, Instagram, and Facebook. Now, Facebook right now, I'm being censored on Facebook, just being completely honest with you. So if you happen to pass by this at some point in time on Facebook, please feel free, click the link, check the show out on our YouTube channel, or you're not watching the show live, that's fine. Listen to the podcast, Salem Podcast Network, YouTube, Rumble, wherever you go to get your podcast. The Carl Jackson Show is where you can go to find me. I would certainly appreciate that. And also, let me talk to you quickly about My Pillow. Listen, Mother's Day is literally right around the corner. So My Pillow is excited to announce that they've extended the mega sale on overstock clearance and brand new products. This is your chance to grab incredible deals on some of My Pillow's most popular and newly released items. Right now, you can save $40 on the new spring My Pillow bed sheets. They're available in any size or color. These luxurious sheets are designed for maximum comfort and breathability. They're perfect for a great night's sleep. If you're looking for a meaningful gift, you can serve 30% on the brand new My Crosses. These are the crosses that Mike Lindell, you've seen him wear on TV for 20 years. They're beautifully crafted. They come in both men's and women's designs, and they're made in the USA. You can get the 6-piece bath or kitchen towel set if you prefer that for just $39.98. Initial quantities are low, so you do want to order as quick as you can. And don't forget the best-selling standard My Pillow. It's only $17.98. Guys, I guarantee you, if you don't have a My Pillow and you get a My Pillow, you will never use another pillow. It's really, honestly, God's honest truth. Orders a $75 ship for free. All you have to do is go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, or call 800-858-0263. Order now. Go to mypillow.com, use promo code Carl, C-A-R-L. I don't spell it like the communist. Or call 800-858-0263. All right, guys, welcome to the Carl Jackson Show. Again, your daily dose of objective truth in a world of confusion and lies. Please subscribe to our podcast wherever you go to get your podcast. Apple, Google, Spotify, YouTube, and Rumble. Make sure that you rate and review us on Rumble. That helps us move up the charts, so we would certainly appreciate that. All things social media, at Carl Jackson Show and at The Carl Jackson Show. Stephen, where can people go to find you online?
Yeah, our website at the Population Research Institute is very simple. It's pop.org, pop.org. And we follow China population, and, America needs more babies. That's another issue of ours.
Oh, man. I mean, isn't that the truth? This Elon Musk is, he's a different type of guy. But I wish he would get married, Stephen.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of his harem style of having a lot of children. Yeah. I did it. I have 9 children. I did it the hard way.
Oh man, okay. I did know that. Well, good. You helped contribute to the American population.
That's right. The survival of the republic, right?
And frankly, you're right. I mean, we actually do need. I mean, obviously, we're being a little facetious here, but it's true. I mean, we need to have more babies in the United States. Elon Musk is right about that. I just wish he wouldn't be going around with so many women doing it. But he's absolutely right. It is it's about civilization and surviving. Okay, Stephen, let me just go into your column, because there's some fascinating things that you wrote about in this particular column for the New York Post. Despite their denials, China is losing the tariffs war and retreating as fast as it can. And I really think it's important that people understand what's going on. And frankly, I knew, and I had been hearing, and I've read even some articles that explained that things are getting really, really difficult for China, for the CCP, for Xi Jinping. But I got to tell you, in your column, you really put it into focus for me. For one, right now, what Xi Jinping is trying to do in the CCP, they're trying to stir up some national fervor, if you will, against the United States of America, because they've got to be concerned about these, like you said, these younger people that could turn against them.
Yeah, and you know, I've been following China for a long time. I was the first American social scientist in China back in 1979. So I remember the days during the Cultural Revolution when Chinese school children were holding up their little red books and chanting anti-American slogans, you know, accusing America of being an imperialistic power and a hegemon and so forth, just spewing hatred, taught to spew hatred by the Chinese Communist Party, which deals in hate. And now, once again, they're doing the same thing. Chinese school children are once again being taught to hate the United States. Class time is being devoted to shouting anti-American slogans. You know, China must win the China-U.S. trade war. I mean, there's a patriotic. They're trying to hide behind patriotism. Who was it that said that patriotism is the last refuge of the scoundrel? Well, there's good patriotism, and then there's the Chinese Communist Party stoking hatred among the Chinese people, blaming all of China's problems, the fact that there are millions of people are losing their jobs, the fact that millions of stores are shutting down, factories are closing, the fact that people are having trouble putting food on the table. They're blaming it on the United States because they're hoping to distract the people from the real cause, which is the Chinese Communist Party's mismanagement of the economy, mismanagement of relations with the United States, and it's sheer theft, Carl. You know, 2% of the Chinese population, which is, you know, the high and middle ranking Communist Party officials, own 82% of the country's wealth.
Whoa.
And only 18% is in the hands of the other 98%. So, you know, compare that to the U.S., about a third of the wealth of the U.S. is in the top 2%. You know, it's probably a little bit too much, but we've got some really brilliant people out there. In China, it's almost more than 4/5 of the economy is owned by the top 2%. And they didn't get it by in honestly, you know, inventing things, innovating like Elon Musk does. I don't fault Elon Musk's fortune. The guy's a genius and he's making us all better. Sure. But the Chinese Communist Party officials contribute nothing. They just steal, and they produce nothing. They produce tyranny instead of producing, you know, rocket ships and self-driving vehicles and so forth. So they're the biggest machine of exploitation in human history is the Chinese Communist Party.
All right, we've got just over 5 minutes left in this block here, Stephen, and I got several questions that I want to ask you. But let me circle back to something you said before we went to the break. I mentioned that the Trump officials, Besson and Greer, are headed to meet with Chinese counterparts to trade on economic issues. And frankly, what you said kind of shocked me. You believe that America could essentially just leave China high and dry and not even be as concerned about them and, you know, deal with everyone else. If we've got India, we've got South Korea, we've got Japan, that would be devastating.
Yeah. Yeah, it would cause the collapse of the Chinese economy and force the Chinese Communist Party to deal with its internal problems and remove them over time as a threat on the world stage, which would be a good thing. That would happen. And there are two reasons I think that. One is that the reshoring to the United States and the removal of supply chains from China, it didn't just start with the trade war in April. Okay. It began in Trump's first term with the first tariffs that were put on China, which Biden, by the way, to his credit, kept in place. So that move of factories away from China into Southeast Asia and places like Mexico, Canada, the U.S. was already underway 8 years ago. And so that process has begun. That's why the period of pain we're talking about, the period of transition, is going to be a lot shorter this time. So that's one thing we can count on. And the other thing I think that we need to understand is that Trump, since 1999, when he wrote the book The Art of the Deal, there's a whole chapter in there on how China cheats on trade. And Trump knows as well as anybody that any agreement that is signed by the Chinese Communist Party is not worth the paper that it's signed on, because they will happily sign an agreement and then go back and tell the other senior leaders, we tricked those naive, innocent Americans once again into backing off. So I don't think Trump is inclined to make a deal with China. He always talks nice about Xi Jinping and about the Chinese leadership, but that's just part of his negotiating strategy. I think that China's in for a very rough time, and it couldn't happen to a nicer group of communist thugs.
No kidding. And I have to wonder, Stephen, we only have 3 minutes left, but I have to wonder when Russia and Iran are watching, and vice versa, are watching the way that the Trump administration are dealing with China. I was expecting Russia, Iran, China, North Korea to rise up to be this new axis of evil. And I don't know, maybe they will be, but that's going to be really hard to do if China falls.
Yeah, I mean, that axis of evil has no economic underpinning now. We have revealed the feet of clay of the whole Chinese economic structure. And it's beginning to resemble the late 1980s when we saw the facade of the Soviet Union begin to crumble and the economic reality of poverty in that country. China has hundreds of millions of people, 500 million people living at subsistence levels even today. So there was a fairly wealthy 200 million middle class living off the export sector of the economy in the coastal cities. Well, guess what? Many of those people who were in the middle class have lost their jobs. And they don't have soft rice paddy to fall back on. They can't go back to their native villages. They left those villages 40 years ago, and those villages are dying out. So there's really no place for them to go. That's why I see food riots in Chinese cities happening in the weeks to come.
Wow.
And where is China going to sell its goods? It can't sell them to the domestic economy because everyone is tightening their belts. They have no money. It can't dump them overseas because countries like India, big market, are not going to allow China to come in and devastate their own domestic economy that way. So they're selling goods for pennies on the dollar right now in China. They're selling shoes by the ton, clothes by the ton, just to get rid of them.
Oh man, they got to be. We only got a minute left. I could literally talk to you for another hour here, Stephen. But we've only got a minute left. But with all of these, with these shipment cargoes or whatever, just literally setting in China. I think you wrote that literally about 10 million factory style jobs are going to be, wiped out. That's going to impact the small business man and woman. So they're really in for a hurting. And something else that you wrote about is basically how China is trying to save face. Xi Jinping is literally calling Trump while pretending like he's the tough guy. And that is insane to me. We've only got 30 seconds, but it's yours.
Well, for the sake of the freedoms that we all hold dear, the Chinese Communist Party must be defeated. And I think we're seeing the opening stages now. I hope that Trump stands firm and continues to fight for the United States and defeat the country that wanted to dominate the 21st century.
Wow.
And now, because of its own corruption and mismanagement of the economy, is failing.
Wow. All right. We got to leave it there. Stephen Mosher, thank you so much.
Thank you, Carl.